Super.
People. Cheers, mate.
Well, I'll kick us all off then. So thanks everyone for joining. After our first launch event, everyone voted for what they wanted to hear about next, and DataVis won by a country mile. So Bob has kindly agreed to give a talk on high-dimensional DataVis, and he's brought his PhD student Elif along with him. And I think they're going to be talking about parallel coordinates and hierarchical data. So yeah, it should be interesting. And Bob is an associate professor of DataVis here at the University of Nottingham. So I'll get out of the way and let him start. Thanks.
So thank you everybody for inviting us here. It's a pleasure and an honor to present before such a distinguished audience. So the title of this talk is called Visualization Resources in High-Dimensional Visualization. This is what it looks like, the organization. So I will start off by introducing myself and Elif. Then now most talks or most packages have the special bonuses at the end. This one, I've decided to put the special bonus at the beginning and mix things up a little bit. It's a postgraduate student training material, so it's a general training material that you might find interesting. Then we're going to talk about visualization resources, like what are the resources that are available to you? You know, that's a question that we get a lot, and this is actually my first time presenting the answer to this question. Then I'm going to give a brief introduction to high-dimensional data visualization as a concept, and then Elif is going to go into details about the parallel coordinates technique, which is one of the great visualization techniques for high-dimensional data. Any questions before we start? If there are questions, anytime, just interrupt. I prefer that there are interruptions and questions and discussions. I don't like to just talk to myself the whole time. It is not easy, though, to keep up with the chat, so I'm going to delegate the chat questions to Ryan, and then Ryan's going to interrupt me or Elif with those questions. A brief introduction to myself. I joined the University of Nottingham at the same time Elif did in January-ish of 2020. So we were at Swansea University before that. So we were there. Elif was studying. We transferred, so to speak. Before that, I was in Austria writing. My PhD is from Vienna University of Technology. And before that, I was in the US. I'm originally from Boston. And Elif, well, I don't know her entire history, but she's from Turkey. But we met at Swansea University when she was a master's student, and she studied data visualization as a master's student, and now she's just finishing her PhD also in data visualization. And she submitted her thesis already, actually, so just have a viva. When is your viva?
17th of May.
17th of May. If anybody's interested, you can join. Okay, so the special bonus putting up right in the beginning. So it might be a coincidence, it might not be a coincidence. Some people say there's no such thing as coincidences. But I have taught a doctoral training seminar series already, like the whole thing, for a different doctoral training center that already existed. And there's a YouTube channel dedicated to those seminars. I recorded all of them, right? It was the College of Science Doctoral Training Center back at Swansea University. And we cover a lot of topics there that you might find interesting for your own studies, right? So, for example, conducting effective meetings with your supervisor. This is a special topic, actually. Most people don't know how to have a productive meeting. and that's just not PhD students, that's like the entire world actually. There is a way to have an effective and productive meeting, but most people don't know how to do that, actually. Have you ever been in a meeting and then when the meeting ends, you're not sure what you're supposed to take away from that meeting? Like you feel lost, like what am I supposed to actually be doing now? What is the takeaway from that 90-minute discussion? Right, that's a common question. Maybe you've wondered, okay, I have a meeting coming up like in 10 minutes. What should I do to prepare for that meeting? I don't know if you've ever wondered that question too. Is there something I should do to prepare for that meeting? Maybe you've had the feeling that you're in a meeting and you're talking about something, but you have this feeling you've already talked about it before. Like, haven't we already talked about this subject like 2 months ago or 3 months ago? Or I can't remember, but I just feel like we've already talked about this and now we're going in circles, right? Or maybe you've been in a meeting and you're like looking at your watch going, oh my gosh, like when is this gonna end? Anybody experience that sort of stuff? I think it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, which company you work for or which university you're at. You've experienced these things, so we have a special seminar just on how to organize a meeting so it's structured and addresses those questions. Yeah, so you might want to check that out. This is another skill that you're all learning, how to read a scientific research paper. Is anybody here reading scientific research papers?
We all do all the time.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a strategy to do this. I don't know, like most people don't know that there is a strategy to reading scientific research papers. And it doesn't just apply to scientific research papers, it applies to all research papers actually. So it could be business. But usually I think what happens is an academic like myself will just say, here's a research paper, go read it. And that's it, right? And then maybe write a summary or something, or tell me what it's about. And that's it, right? Just go read it. And then you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, this is complicated. You know, it's got 10 pages of, maybe it's got lots of formulas and I don't know, 10 pages of details. And then you're looking at it going, what am I supposed to take away from this? What exactly am I looking for in this paper? And that's what that seminar is about. It's actually giving you a strategy, what you want to actually extract, the information that you want to extract from all research papers. And it's not everything, right? Some things are more important than other things. It wouldn't make sense to extract everything because there's so much detail in there, right? Those research papers typically take 1 or 2 years to write, right? And they're typically done by a team, maybe 5 people. So that's 10 years of information, 10 man-years of information packed into 10 pages. It's very complicated, very difficult to understand. So that seminar is giving you a strategy of how to read research papers. It's a special skill. And most people don't have it, but that's one of the skills you're trying to learn as a PhD student, actually. And then we have how to conduct a literature survey. Has anybody here tried to write a literature survey? Yeah? So there's a strategy for conducting a literature survey. I think most academics just say, okay, here's a topic, just go get as many research papers as you can, find as many as you can on this topic. Does that sound familiar? Like, find out what's out there on this topic. Literature surveys are very difficult. I still remember when I was a PhD student, that I had a colleague, PhD student, Phil Rhodes, a few years ahead of me. And I still remember this huge stack of papers. He printed them all out and he just put them in a big stack on his desk. And I just thought, oh my God, how can anybody manage that. That just seems impossible to manage, right? So scientific literature reviews and survey papers and those kinds of things are very, very challenging. But you can put together a strategy to handle that. These two go together, right? How to read in one paper and then how to put together 50 papers, for example. That's really what those two, they're combined, really, like part one and part two. And then we have how to write and structure a scientific research paper, right? There's a seminar on that topic. That's very challenging. Has anybody here published a paper already? So 1, 2, 3 people, congratulations. Do you know how it works now? Do you feel like you have a process you can recreate over and over again? Anyways, that is a lecture that's trying to explain how to publish a research paper. Does anybody know why we publish research papers? Anybody know the answer to that? Like, why do you have to publish papers? Anybody want to try to answer that question? This is a good question, isn't it?
I suppose you'd say to share knowledge, but a lot of the time it seems like for progression reasons. So.
That's right. Your PhD is meant to be a contribution to science, right? Or engineering. And this is how you make your contribution, right? Through the peer-reviewed paper, right? It's how you, it's like your stamp of approval, like this is officially a contribution to science, right? You're supposed to expand the world's knowledge. I also have a Tableau tutorial on there. Has anybody heard of Tableau before? Tableau is a piece of visualization software. So it's not necessarily focused on high-dimensional visualization. It does have some high-dimensional visualization features, but that's a step-by-step tutorial, like click here, okay, now click this button. So it really goes step by step, clicking one button at a time, how to use Tableau, like a little introduction. It is one of the state-of-the-art pieces of visualization software out there, and you can use a free student version, and you're welcome to have a look at that. We have a tutorial about using video media, so like how to record your own videos, edit them, and then upload them to YouTube. Has anybody tried that before? That's a good skill to have, in my opinion. Just being able to record something, edit it, and upload it to YouTube to share with your mom, for example. Show your mom what you're doing. Or your dad, well, your dad might be interested in what you're doing. And maybe the colleagues in Belfast and Oxford might be interested in what's going on in Nottingham. That's a great way to share that. That's more about the minutes of meeting protocol for conducting effective meetings. This introduces the idea of distant reading for research papers. That's some new terminology that you probably have never heard before, close and distant reading. Anybody ever heard of that before? That's something that's not very common, that knowledge. So close reading is the phrase you used when you read from every single word from the beginning of a paper to the end. So that's the standard way of reading anything, is close reading. Distant reading is only reading subsets of a paper or a book, for example, and maybe even representing some of those pieces of text with graphics, like substituting graphics for texts. That's called distance reading. So that seminar talks about close and distant reading, and it applies it to the scientific literature. Look, there's one, how to stay motivated. I hope nobody's in that phase. I think everybody goes through those phases, like, I don't like this anymore. I want to quit phase. I think that's very, very common, right? So we made a little video or viewpoint on that. This is a guest lecture, enjoying and getting research degrees reliably by Professor Harold Thimbleby. Guidelines for writing scientific literature reviews. So the themes start to reoccur, right? Some of those themes are repeating now. Reading research papers is a reoccurring theme. Writing literature surveys and literature reviews is a reoccurring theme, right? Because these are the skills that you're trying to acquire during your PhD. You're trying to learn these skills. You might not have been told that, but that's two of the skills you're trying to learn. Well, there are at least 3 skills, right? Reading research papers, writing research papers, and literature surveys. Those are 3. A 4th skill is how to conduct effective meetings. That's a skill, by the way. It's not very difficult, but it is a skill. Right, how to deal with hundreds or thousands of research papers. Why are we writing research papers, and so on. How to write a visualization survey paper. That's for people that specialize in visualization, and so on. And we have a few tutorials, data visualization tutorials, data visualization for complete beginners. And anything else, everything I wish I had known about writing literature surveys when I was a student. Here's another Tableau tutorial, visualizing the UK's massive car accident problems, and so on. And there's a visualization resources talk on there as well. This talk is also being recorded, and we will upload it as well. It'll take a few days, but eventually we should get there. Any questions about that special bonus? Is anybody surprised by the special bonus? I hope so. Okay, so the next part is the visualization resources. So yes, we're going to teach you a little bit about high-dimensional data visualization, but when we leave, we're over in the computer science building, by the way, which is just a 5-minute walk over there. But you'll be wondering, okay, what is available to me? What are the resources available to me? So this is just an overview of some of the resources, so that when we do go away, Elif graduates, you still have something that you can use, right? So visualization as a field is growing and evolving very, very rapidly, right? There's a separate field of data visualization with its own conferences, its own research, right? And Elif and I are part of that. And there are too many resources. The resources are also expanding and evolving very rapidly. So we don't actually go into details about individual resources. We focus on collections of resources. So a lot of effort has gone into collecting related resources together and then presenting them as a group. And we say, okay, here's a group of this, here's a group of that. So we're focusing on collections of resources because it's too much individually, right? It's just thousands and thousands of items. And then we classify those resources because we're academics, right? We like to classify things, categorize them, and then present them. And this is very useful for students, right? For teachers that want to go into this subject. It's useful for practitioners, and it's useful for researchers as well. We spent quite a long time doing this, actually. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the free ones. So we're leaving out commercial resources, generally speaking, or strictly for profit resources. We want them all to be free because we're in this educational setting. We have a preference for open source resources. Does anybody know what that term means, open source? Yeah? And we have a preference for collections that focus specifically on visualization. It was a team of us that worked on this for about 2 years, actually, you know, a visualization group of PhD students, a postdoc, and myself trying to find these resources and put them all together once and for all, so to speak. That will never happen, but at least an attempt, because we get this question all the time, you know, what resources? And we're going to look at some of the resources, obviously. So how did we find them? We teach a visualization course. Actually, I haven't been teaching it, but I used to teach a visualization class. As a group, we have a lot of experience reviewing research papers, so we find some resources that way. Attending visualization events, which is very expensive and time-consuming, but that's a way to find the resources. Of course, we use traditional search engines when we were searching for resources. And we came across many resources while we were doing 2 projects. One's called the SOS, the Survey of Surveys. That's a very unusual thing. So we worked on this thing called a Survey of Surveys for visualization. So there are many surveys published in the field of visualization. So we decided to take it to the next level and publish a Survey of Surveys. This is one of your resources. Like, if you're interested in, for example, the visualization of engineering data, you can go to the SOS and find a survey on that topic. Or the visualization for the physical sciences, you can go to the Survey of Surveys and find the reference, oh, visualization for the physical sciences. That looks interesting. Another project is the SOB, the Survey of Information Visualization Books. So we did a survey of books. You might be wondering what books are available in this field, and there you can find the answer to see what books are available and which ones cover high-dimensional visualization, for example. In the survey, in the SOB, there's a special table, and on the y-axis is the book, and on the x-axis is the topics that they cover, and multivariate and high-dimensional visualization is one of those topics. So you can see, okay, which books cover this topic if I want to read about it in more detail. This is the first survey of its kind that collects collections of visualization resources, and it also provides a novel categorization. We published this last year, actually, so it's kind of special, even though we worked on it for so long. How are the resources categorized or grouped together? We have literature-focused resources, so if you want to read about a given topic and understand it, we have the Survey of Surveys. By the way, you can find that Survey of Surveys, a copy of it on my webpage, or you can just Google like Survey of Surveys and information visualization. We have research papers. There are special visualization research papers that collect data together and present it as a project. That's one of the categories. We also have visualization survey papers with accompanying image collection browsers. I'm going to show you one of those. These survey papers collect images. So for example, all the images related to time-oriented visualization. Right? You can see hundreds of images related to this topic and just get a glimpse of the state of the art in time-oriented visualization, in a few seconds. We have survey papers with an accompanying surveys webpage. Surveys is a special tool that lets you collect research papers together and put them in an online webpage for exploration purposes and sharing purposes. So you can actually use that for your own literature surveys, right? It's a special tool. And then we have data visualization websites. There are some special websites focused and dedicated to the topic of data visualization that we've collected together from some of the good ones, the best ones. These are some of the image browsers that we collect just for fun. These are not active links, so I'm gonna switch to the actual PDF so we can get the active links. This is the visualization resources PDF, by the way. Let's see, should we do fit width maybe? Make it a little bit easier to see. This hopefully has the active link. Okay, so these are the image browsers that I mentioned. So let's see if I can open that one up. Is it gonna work? Oh, it appeared for a second. So this is what we're calling an image browser. So these are all images representing hierarchical data, right? All the different visualization techniques representing hierarchical data in one glimpse, right? One collection, right? And it's quite a collection, right? So this one has 333 different techniques, right? And for each image, you can click on it, for example, and you get some more information about that technique, like a zoomed in image and then the actual paper that talks about that technique. So it's quite an interesting resource. Anybody have one that they want to see, that they want me to click on?
Let's go to the tree map.
The tree map one, is there must be a tree map one. That looks like a tree map one. Oh no, Voronoi tree map. Uncertainty tree map. Here's another one. Balanced partition tree map. So you can see lots of variations in tree maps. What is that one? Orthogonal Voronoi tree map. So that's another style of tree map. You can see that there are lots of tree map variations. Let's try an experiment. Tree map. Okay, so all of these papers mention tree maps somehow. I remember this one. This is this one is like taking tree maps and turning them into different shapes like pie charts and pyramids and stuff like that, but still in the tree map hierarchical style. What is that one? Uncertainty tree map. I don't remember that one. Mixed projection tree map. So yeah, if you're looking for tree maps, this is a good place to have a look. And then we have other ones like time-oriented data, multivariate. So this is another topic that everybody loves, right? Multivariate or high-dimensional visualization. This one has 166 publications. And then you can see what's there. We could try an experiment again. Parallel coordinates. So not that many parallel coordinate papers there, not as many as I thought, but 5. So that's something. But then you might be thinking, oh wow, there are a lot of multivariate visualization techniques. I didn't know about that, right? So those are some of the collections. Too many things open. Oh, I see. I sort of. These are surveys references. Again, these are the web pages that are dedicated to literature surveys, and then they collect all the related literature on a web page.
I have no idea why that happens. So I can just show you some of those. Let's see. I guess I'll maybe stick with this PDF instead. So, for example, what would be a good one? Visualizing high-dimensional data. That looks like a good one. Okay, is that gonna let me? Okay, there it is. Visualizing high-dimensional data advances in the past decade. Right, so this is a survey's webpage. It's a survey visualization, right? And it's all the related literature dedicated to this topic, put on a web page and nicely organized so that you can explore it. You can actually do this for your own. You could easily do this for your own literature search and your own surveys, right? You can see the number of papers that are published on the topic over the years. You can see the keywords that are appearing. You can browse, and then you can see the individual papers with sample images here, right? So it just is a nice interface for a literature survey, and then you can share it with other people. Okay, I'm gonna just keep going here instead of using the slides, I think. We have the surveys of books that I mentioned, the SOB. Those are the visualization focused websites. These are, so these are all special web pages dedicated to visualization. And they have a lot of resources on them, obviously. I can't go through all of those. I can't go through any of them, but there are two that I really wanted to point out. I have to go back to my slides because there are two that I really wanted to point out. Yes. This one. This is a very special web page, in my opinion. This is one of my all-time favorites for visualization. This is a collection of visualization software tools. So if you're wondering, okay, what are the software tools available to me to produce these images, this is a good resource right here. And it's quite sophisticated. So here it's tools and books, so you can look at the books as well. But look, there are lots and lots of tools here. So we could filter them, right? You can filter them and say, I want only the web-based tools, for example. And then it will show you all the web-based tools. You'll notice Tableau is there. We mentioned Tableau earlier on. Right, there's one dedicated to colors and how to use color mapping. And is anybody using any visualization tools or software right now?
Yeah, I think most of us are just using what's in MATLAB or Matplotlib.
Yep. That makes sense. Yep.
What are the stars there in those regions?
The stars. Which stars?
At the corners of each
Top right, top right.
Oh, I don't know actually. I don't know what those stars are.
They go down, so I guess you.
You mean these stars? Or which star?
I think on the left hand of the
All of the thumbnails.
Oh, these. Okay. That looks like some sort of a rating, like, that looks like kind of a
The
rating.
most popular ones actually.
Yeah, maybe user-friendly popularity. And then there is, so we could click on, for example, 3 stars, and then multivariate visualization, and then narrow it down to just those 3 as a starting point. What happens if can I uncheck this? Doesn't let me, okay, it does. Okay, so these are all the multivariate visualization packages. This, I think I just saw a parallel coordinates one. But this is quite an impressive collection. Like this is really, somebody put in a lot of time and effort to do this. This takes a lot of time and effort. Question?
I see on the right hand side it mentions some of them are free. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. That's right. So we could click on the free ones, for example. Yep, that's very important. Right. And even if they're not free, there's often a free student version, so it's always worth having a look just to make sure. Tableau was commercial for a long time, and then a few years ago, they decided to offer a free version for students. Okay. So those are the visualization focused websites. And there's the website references, like what you can see in the websites, what kind of information do they have. So those are all the...
Comment from the others. When you move away from the mic, can you either speak louder or...
Okay, yes, or just stay closer to the
they can
mic.
see you disappearing. Cheers.
Yeah, so this table just summarizes what the visualization websites have to offer, right? Right, some of them offer guidance, like design guidance, right, blogs, training, events, publications, book collections, tools and software, and so on. Okay, so that is essentially the summary of the visualization resources that are available to you. Now that PDF, you're probably wondering about the PDF as well. This one here. We are working, by the way, on an expanded version of the visualization resources document. It's not been published yet, but we are working on that. This is the actual document right here, and you can get a copy of it on my webpage, or you can just Google, visualization resources as a starting point, and then you can get a copy of that document. Any questions about visualization resources? Okay, so in the plan, I have break time right now. Do you guys think it makes sense to do a short break and then do the high dimensional visualization stuff?
Yeah, can have 5 minutes just to grab some coffee.
Yeah, I think that would be good, yeah. And maybe if you have questions, you can also ask questions during the time. Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into the high dimensional visualization stuff.
Where can I find your website? Well, I'll share that in the Teams link, in the Teams chat.
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to get papers as well, the links to those as we go.
Yeah.